here with my friend Phil Peters. He's an expert in this industry of direct sales, and I have some questions for him, and he's going to answer them. So the first question I have, Phil, actually I'll tell you a little bit of backstory. So I met Phil and his wife several years ago at a like a flea market type event. I ended up buying his book, and we've sort of bumped into each other over the last couple of years. It's been very interesting.
Right.
You know, when you meet somebody interesting and they keep showing up in your life, there's something to that, for sure, as far as trusting your intuition. So my first question for you, Phil, is explain the value of dreams and vision.
Oh my. Explain the value of dreams and visions. To me, and I have felt this way really all my life, I think that dreams and visions are the most important part of developing a business or really any other activity in life. Let me share one quick thing with you. When I was 16 years old, my father gave me a copy of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He said, read that book. It's not the Holy Bible, but read it and learn from it. And one of the things that's in that book is the value of what you think and how you use your mind. Dreams and visions. That's what makes things happen.
Fantastic. So my next question is, why does it seem that only a few people succeed at a high level in this industry?
You know, I've been asked that question lots of times, and I'll share with you something that happened to me back in the 70s and 80s. I started an herbal products company. I incorporated it in 1974 in Oregon. In 1994, I received a letter from the Secretary of State's office in Oregon saying, congratulations, you are among 2% of the companies that incorporated in Oregon in 1994 that still do business with us. Now, that had nothing to do with direct sales or anything like that. That included service stations, drugstores, grocery stores, any kind of business that you want. I was among 2% that had actually stayed alive and conceded and been able to succeed. It was amazing to me that 98% of those companies have really closed up, gone broke, whatever it was that happened. And in direct sales, I have always felt it's really very much the same. A certain percentage of people will stay with it. They will learn what has to be done. They will practice a few simple things. One of my mentors by book has been Jim Rohn. I was fortunate years ago to meet him. Jim Rohn has said over and over, to be successful, you need to be persistent. You need to be consistent. And that's what makes the difference as far as I'm concerned.
My third question, Phil, is what stops most people?
I think that many people stop because they become tired and afraid. In direct sales, for example, I will tell people the first thing you want to do is go out and find about 50 people that might be interested in what you're doing. Very few people do that. I sponsored in the company that I'm with 27 people in my first 18 months directly. I did that because I knew that's what had to be done. I feel that many people become afraid of rejection. They become afraid that they're going to do something wrong or they're going to say something wrong, and then they get tired. People who get tired don't have excitement, and excitement is what builds really any business when you come right down to it.
The fourth question is, and you might have covered it in the last one, but what are the basic skills that people need to win in this industry?
Well, I was taught by my father, who was a very good salesman, When I was 16 years old, that the first thing I wanted to do was learn how to sell. Interesting, because I took classes, I read books. To me, that's not how you learn how to sell. Selling is interpersonal relationships. Learning how to develop a relationship with the person you're talking with. My father taught me one thing that I've never forgotten, and I've told this to many, many people since. He said, when you sit down with someone to make a presentation, what I do, meaning him, I silently say to myself, I am here to help you. I will not harm you. And he said, I mean that. I have learned over the years that the interpersonal relationship, being there to help somebody, is probably more important than just about anything else.
Great answer. So the question 5 is, how long did it take you to win? And then what slowed you down or stopped you along the way?
I was in Amway when Amway was really very, very new, back in the early 60s in Oregon. I made it to direct, and it was the hardest $20,000 I ever made in my life. I quit. I have been with 3 or 4 other companies over the years because I really believed that direct sales, network marketing was a realistic way to serve people and make a living. When I became involved with Manatech in 1994, I really did share stories that told what was happening with the company. And my business grew. I was very fortunate because I had a couple of people that I sponsored, Dick McDaniel for more than anybody else, who really began to go out and build their own businesses, and I supported that. There were times in the 27 years that I've been with Manatech where I became discouraged. In around the year 270, there were some distributors that made unwarranted claims for the Manatech products, and very frankly, Manatech's volume dropped considerably all over the world, and that was discouraging. But I made up my mind that I wasn't going to quit because I knew what the products did and how valuable they were, and so I worked my way through that. That was probably the most difficult time that I've ever had.
So this next question is from a friend of mine. She knew I was coming to talk to you. And you could answer this question a couple different ways. I kind of answered it myself in my head, and I want to see how you answer it because it could mean a couple different things to you. So she said, could you have lived without it?
Absolutely. No question. I was very successful before I ever heard of Manatech. My late wife, Suzanne, had a disease that really nobody knew what to do with, and one of the Manatech products, very fortunately, gave her a quality of life for the last 3.5 years of her life that we didn't expect. And when that happened, that really caught my attention. There was another thing that happened with Manatech that to me was extremely important. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the 1960s, lived in Guatemala, and I built a medical clinic with a local teacher. At that medical clinic, a little girl died in my arms one morning from malnutrition. And I determined I wanted to be involved in some way in helping to provide nutritional foods for children. I learned in a hurry that much of the food that we provide through care programs and things like that has little nutritional value. Manatech started a program called Mission 5 Million. That's to feed 5 million kids around the world that die from malnourishment each year. I have been extremely active in that program. My wife and I have kids that we feed through that program on a regular basis. And so that was probably the second thing that really got me excited about what was happening with me in this industry.
Fantastic. So let's see which question we're at. Okay, so the question 7 is, what advice would you give someone with a big dream in their life? They haven't accomplished it yet, but they have a big dream. They don't know where they're going with it.
Kathleen and I have taught setting goals and achieving them all over the world in many different countries. One of the things that I always say in the first part of the presentation that I make, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have something you want to accomplish, write it down. Write it down so that it makes sense, so that you can understand it, so you can relate it to someone else and they'll understand what you're talking about. Now, what's the importance of that? There have been many people who said, well, go write down your idea. Writing it down in and of itself probably doesn't do a whole lot of good. Writing it down and then rereading it impresses it upon your subconscious, and your subconscious, and I'm not sure that I fully understand even today how this works, your subconscious begins to find ways for you to accomplish your goal. That's what I say as the first step. Write it down, begin to think about it, begin to ponder on it. I always tell people to meditate and pray on it. I think that there is great value in meditation. Most of the people who have accomplished great things were in New Jersey. Look at Edison down in southern New Jersey and what he accomplished. He did that through meditation. And I encourage people, write it down, meditate on it, develop a plan, and then take action.
Awesome. And the last question is, in your own words, can you explain what leverage and residual income is?
Oh my. Almost everything that I did as I started out in life as an entrepreneur, I made money for the hours that I put in. For example, I started my first company when I was a junior in high school. I was 16 years old. I bought calves, raised calves, sold them, and made a profit off of raising the calf. What I did was make a profit off of the time that I put in raising and taking care of those calves. At a later point, I was introduced to what network marketing and direct sales could be, and I discovered that I could have people that I made a little bit of commission off of if they went out and sold product. I was an insurance agent for a year. I did extremely well selling insurance until I realized I didn't want to do that anymore. But my general agent came to me about 6 months after I started, and he said, you know, you should get a couple of people that would work for you and they would sell insurance. I thought, geez, that's interesting. I would make a little commission if they sold something. And then I realized that my general agent made a commission off of everything that I went out and sold. And he had a person over him who made a little commission. People talk about not taking advantage of your friends and all of that type of thing. I don't think I ever have. But I learned years ago that many of them need the products I have. They also might need a little additional income. And for me, long-term residual income means developing a group of people, today I'm all over the world, fortunately, who go out every day and they sell a bottle of Plus or a bottle of Sport. They share my products with somebody, and I make, in many cases, a little tiny percentage off of what they do. But when you make a little percentage off of thousands of people, it counts up in a hurry. I make money today, and I don't mean to say this wrong, 27 years later, off of the people that I brought into Vanatech in 1994, and they still are active in this business selling product.
Fantastic. Amazing. Great questions. I want to say one thing before I finish, you guys. Again, well, first of all, like and subscribe. Thank you, Phil. It reminds me of what John Paul Getty said. And John Paul Getty said, I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people versus 100% of the efforts of myself. And that's what leverage is. That's what residual income is. And that's what creates true freedom to go live your dreams and do what you want on this planet. Because we're all here to do something. And if we can get free, when we get free, we get to go and experience that and make a difference for other people. Thanks, you guys.